It sounds like it's the whoop.
Ah! Son of a bitch.
Nice catch. You're good.
We
I
are.
can still hear you.
Okay.
It's gonna be a good night.
Yep.
Okay,
We're almost 2
ready?
minutes in. Haven't even fucking done shit. Okay.
Welcome to the Not the Nerds podcast, everybody. This is Lorenzo Fon here. We're gonna talk Clone Wars. With me is
Kevin Horde of These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For.
Hey Kevin. How's it going?
Doing well. Had some equipment malfunction that nobody got to witness except for you, so that was entertaining.
Good. Yeah, that's why we're starting this one a little bit more energetic because we're still riding a good wave of watching your mic go down.
Yeah.
What is your mic connected to? Like, by the way, it's on an arm.
Yeah, it's just connected to my desk.
Okay. Just
So
decided to jump ship right then and there. Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck happened. It just like fell off. I saw it out of the corner of my eye, and it was leaning slowly, and then I went to grab it, and it just plummeted to the ground. So
You did catch it, so it was good. It was good.
yeah,
It was a good catch. We are here today to talk about episode 8 of season 1, which is Bombad Jedi. Original air date is November 21st, 2008. The fortune cookie, just get that out of the way, is heroes are made by the times. Yeah.
heroes are made by the times.
Being that the title of this is Bombad Jedi, do you think we're going to see some heroes being made in this episode?
I'm not really sure. What do you think they're made of?
Probably kelp, I'm assuming.
Are they
we're talking about.
Are they made like by the Times Magazine? Is that what's going on?
Yes. New York Times, probably.
New York Times.
Let's go with New York Times.
Coruscant.
Let's go big.
Coruscant Times.
Do they have it? Yeah, is there do we get like a local publication scene? Is it just hologram news? Is that what they get? Like,
Well, they definitely have like the HoloNet, which I guess is
Yeah.
like the internet, but I think that is like also includes like their visual broadcasting as well.
yeah, and whatever that radio thing was that we saw a handful of episodes back.
Yeah, that was on Rookies.
Yeah, with the weird VJ thing happening.
Yes.
Yeah. But then does each planet have their own publication, or is it like galaxy-wide?
I think there's both, depending. Like, I'm not sure that
So-
Tatooine has like the Dusty Browns magazine or something like that.
Like, people on Tatooine could probably get like Coruscant news if they wanted it,
Yes.
but then like people on Coruscant are not giving a fuck about like the little minute news of Tatooine.
Probably
basically.
not unless they're
Right.
from Tatooine.
Yeah, and they're just patching straight into that HoloNet feed.
Correct.
Just Kevin was just moving the mic, and I was just waiting to see it go again.
Probably looked the same as when it took a tumble. That shit caught me by surprise, man.
It was good, but you caught it. It was good reflexes there.
It's too bad we're not recording video.
No, it's all right.
It's probably funnier for us than it was for anybody else, though.
Yeah. Let's see. Back into this episode now that we're moving along here. So we have Padme headed to Rhodia. This seems to be a Padme-focused episode.
Yes.
Right off the bat. Yep. She seems to be headed there to check on the loyalty of Rhodia to the Republic and just kind of doing some general housekeeping, it seems like. Yeah.
Yes.
So she's on her ship. She's accompanied by Jar Jar and C-3PO.
Correct.
And she mentions that Senator Anaconda Farr requests her aid.
Yes.
So while she's on this ship, Palpatine is kind of hologramming in, right?
Yeah, my note says that, like, Sheev calls Padme, and he's like, "Sup, girl? Why you go with no clones, man?" Because it's just...
Essentially, yeah.
It's just Padme, Jar Jar, 3PO.
And C-3PO.
That's
yeah.
it. So, I don't like. Obviously, they just want the action to begin, and they're en route to some location. But you would imagine that the Chancellor had already talked to Padme like before she left.
Yeah, this is not a call that would be happening right now.
No,
at all.
This is something that would have been taken care of prior.
Yeah, like she would have been packing, and this call would have come in, right?
Yeah. So do you have what she says? What her response is? Like why she doesn't bring clones with her?
Well, she says something like Senator Anaconda is requesting aid, and because they have a relationship that goes back a while due to her father being a senator as well.
Which was a surprise to me. That was not something that I remembered or that I knew at all.
Prior to this episode?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it comes up out of nowhere, essentially. So that's... The purpose of Palpatine calling her from a show basis is just to get that information out.
Right.
But I feel like there are a lot more efficient ways to do that than to have this oddly timed hologram call while she's she's literally arriving at the planet, you know. It's like you driving to your kid's school because you're like, oh, there's like a recital going on, and then somebody else calls you like right as it's happening, is like, no, they don't want you to show up. You're like, what are you talking about? It's already been done. We talked about this like 3 nights ago.
Yeah, that would be awkward.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a weird little moment, but it does what it needs to do in terms of setting up her relationship with Senator Anaconda, which is a very awkward twofer to say, you know.
Right.
She does eventually refer to him as Uncle Ano, which I think is equally awkward. I don't know why. Uncle Ano is just... It's a lot of vowels just all slammed up next to each other.
It is.
Yeah. Uncle Ano. Like, it just sounds... It sounds like a sound and not like a name, so...
Yeah, I will bring up his name later because I kind of had a thought of something, but we need to get to the place where the thought came from first.
All right, yeah.
But that'll be way down the line.
So moving forward,
yeah, Jar Jar at this point kind of does he's got some ship shenanigans going on.
Oh God, yeah.
Right. So were they real quick question? Were they supposed to be in hyperspace when this call came in?
I don't think they were.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember, but I don't recall.
The reason I ask is because Jar Jar starts spinning C-3PO around. C-3PO's in like a spinny chair. And so Jar Jar's like trying to talk to the Chancellor and like spin C-3PO around, which makes C-3PO like trip him or kick him in the shins or something.
Yeah.
And he falls over and hits like one button on the ship.
That's right.
That's like an emergency brake or something.
Yeah. And it breaks immediately in space, which is awkward. We've had this discussion about space physics on the show, and
right, and not only does it break immediately, but it also like the nose like dives like it's fucking crashing, or if it were a boat, like it was sinking and going underwater or something. So then
exactly,
Padme's got to do some wrestling with the
controls to kind of take it back.
Yeah, is that what you call that? It's not a steering wheel. I was thinking like yoke, but it's not a yoke because it's still like...
I've always... the controls, what is it? So a pilot hangs onto the... It's not steering wheel. What the fuck is it?
I have no idea.
Fuck. Now it's going to bother me that we can't think of this.
Steering controls?
Cockpit controls, right? Like...
Sure.
If you hear clicking in the back, it's me looking up what the fuck.
That's all right. I was just gonna keep talking.
Keep talking. Yeah. So we have basic Jar Jar shenanigans, which don't make any fucking sense.
And they start pretty well immediately. And so Sheev says something.
Oh, you're correct. It's the yoke, the control yoke.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. For some reason, I thought yoke was like the motion that occurs, like, and not the physical thingy. But yeah.
Right.
Anyways, carrying on.
Well, there we go. She has to jerk the yoke back.
I don't.
Real quick, like.
We're gonna earn our explicit rating in this one.
I don't know of what you speak, but so Sheev tells her that he suggests that only qualified people be included in in these diplomatic talks. And Padme kind of looks at Jar Jar and she's like, I'll take your advice.
Yes. Yeah, she's very explicit about that much, at least. But it still brings up the weird question of what the fuck he's doing there to begin with.
He is, yeah. Jar Jar seems to be included for only because, I don't know, I have zero excuses. Like, no one in their right mind would continue to put this person in a position of leadership and or responsibility. So
of any sort, yeah.
Even if he's just a tag along, like, we're going to find out what happens when you got Jar Jar as your tag along in this episode.
Well, it doesn't help that, like, 30 seconds into this episode, he's already stopping a ship seemingly impossibly in space that has no resistance, and yet there it is getting stopped. As if it was like... It's a weird combination of both. A boat kind of having the nosedive, but it also kind of reacts as if it were at the end of, like, a bungee cord and it had reached its limit, sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of got the, like, slamming on the brakes feeling.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what this button does, if it, like, just, like, kills the engines, which obviously it doesn't, because when Padme pulls up on the yoke, like, the nose comes back up. Yeah. So
yeah, because it's both boat-like in the weird sinking of the nose, but also kind of skids a little bit like a car.
For sure.
Which is fucking weird. Anyways, I still don't understand what Jar Jar... Yeah, there's no reason for it.
The true reason is because George Lucas went to Dave Filoni and said, hey, you're in the right time period. I think it would be cool to see Jar Jar in some episodes.
There's no redeeming this character, though, you know? Like, that's the thing. Or I would have liked to seen a good attempt at it. And with the previous episodes we have seen Jar Jar in, and with the 5 seconds we have seen him in this episode.
Yeah. So he's only been in one episode prior to this.
The one on Toydaria, right?
Yes,
just
supply lines.
And it feels like so much more.
Now, as far as production goes, this is the first time that Jar Jar was worked into the show.
Yes, if we had seen him
in release order.
If you've been watching the show, release order,
right.
This would have been first. Yeah,
this would have been the first one. So
that is very true.
The first thing that George Lucas wanted was Jar Jar in this show, and then not necessarily this one, but in the show in general, not specifically this episode. This episode's written, you know, so far we got our approach into Rhodia. We're coming down to like some domed city, right? There's just like this big. It kind of looks like a glass dome. This is a direct request from George Lucas as well. Like, they designed all of Rhodia. All of Rhodia was good. It looked the same, like the plants, the cities, and whatnot. And George Lucas came in. He said, "Looks good, but Rhodia is a planet with cities that have domes over them." And they were like, "Okay, I guess we're putting domes on these things here."
Thanks. That's a lot of extra rendering and drawing that we need to do. Yes,
right.
Sure.
So it doesn't look like the shields that we've seen in the past. It looks like a solid physical barrier.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hard to tell why, because, you know, in one instance I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's like something for the atmosphere, right?
Yeah.
But when you open the door, there's no fucking breezeway. There's no there's no shield. There's no... There's no quarantine.
Padme's breathing
there's
fine.
No... What do you call it? Like when you go through one door and then it seals off and then...
There's no airlock of any sort.
Airlock. That was the one I was looking for. Or decontamination chamber or anything like that.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It just opens. They fly through. They close. The doors close behind them.
It's just a big gate, essentially. It's like the security checkpoint before you enter, I don't know, like,
and it's not even a security checkpoint, because like when they fly down, the doors are just fucking wide open.
Yeah, I got nothing for you there.
So then I was also thinking like maybe it was to keep animals, intruders, like some type of fauna out, but we will learn that that's not the case either.
No.
So we land on Rhodia.
Yep.
Padme's got a little interaction with JJ. Sorry. In my notes, I abbreviated Jar Jar as JJ.
Whereas I wrote Jar Jar every time as to continue to not dilute his awful name.
Yeah. Well, I guess he was named after like some director named Jar Jar Abrams or something. So
Boy.
he goes by JJ. So I just I shorten it to JJ. I take a lot of notes, so I tend to abbreviate when I can. Sometimes those abbreviations come out as though I know what I'm talking about when I don't. So anyway,
I on occasion will abbreviate some things, but some things I don't. I don't know why. I like my long form. It's really weird.
So that's
anyway. So yeah,
that's why you got a text message that said, in my notes I just wrote, Pam saves JJ.
Oh.
Like that's where it came from.
Okay. I was like, who the fuck is he talking about?
Right.
Because at that point I hadn't even seen the episode yet, so I was just like, okay.
So we're gonna find somebody named Pam, maybe.
Pam, as in like The Office's Pam.
That is the first Pam that pops into my head.
That's yeah. When you sent that, that's what I was like. Well, is he watching The Office? What is happening? Like. Anyways, I was like, do you have an Office podcast I don't know about? Like,
shit.
I can't even imagine what kind of notes you'd be taking for that one.
I don't even want to know.
Who is the Scranton Strangler? Like trying to find all the notes, like making all the connections.
It's very true. I think I would have like a large bulletin board with thumbtacks and string and all kinds of other shit.
Like, are we sure it's not Creed? Are we sure it's not Creed?
No, we're not. We're not sure.
I'm about 89% sure in my heart it's Creed. So, anyways, that you can find on our spin-off. These aren't the office supplies you're looking for.
Ooh, I was thinking this isn't the paper you're looking for.
Oh, that's a good one too. See, I worked The Office right into it.
That is.
I like how you went into the universe, and I'm like still floating above it, right? Like.
That's a Dunder Mifflin, if you ask me.
Just wait for our spinoff, guys. Just wait for our spinoff. Don't worry. Where those episodes are going to be like 4 hours long because we start talking about paper stock. So.
Yes.
Anyways,
that is very true.
We are not going to keep this under 90 minutes, are we? Let's just keep going.
We're trying. Barrel forward. We're trying.
Let's barrel forward.
My next note says that Padme's got like the narrowest fucking ramp ever. Coming off this ship.
Yeah, it is weird. Yeah.
It's like not even as wide as she is. It's very bizarre.
I couldn't tell if it was like a stylistic choice or if it was like a physical actual choice. Because jumping outside of show universe, once you get to like Rebels, it took me a while to figure out that the thin lightsabers that you see on Rebels was an art choice and not a trainer lightsaber that they're giving Ezra.
Oh, okay.
You know, does that make sense? So sometimes
because they're like super thin and pointy at the end, like there's like a triangular point to them.
Yeah, just barely, but like they're super thin compared to the hilt. So for the longest time, I thought they were just giving Ezra like a weird half-powered trainer saber.
Nope.
And then later on, then you start seeing. Spoilers for Rebels, everybody, but then Kanan, has a lightsaber, and then he has the same fucking thing, So I was just like, oh, I guess that's a style choice and not a weird in-universe thing, but sure.
It's a weird in-universe style choice.
But you know what I mean, though, yeah.
Yeah, we should probably save that to when we get to it 2 years from now or whatever.
2? I feel like you're still is it really just 2? I feel like it'd be like 3 or more.
Well, I think this show will take us like 2.5.
Okay, yeah.
But I'm talking just about Bombad Jedi is going to take us like 2.5 years to record, and then
yes, that is true. Yeah,
and then we'll get there.
So, moving on. Anything else you got to say about the ramp?
Nope, that's all I got to say about the ramp. But my next note had to deal with Uncle Ano.
Uncle Ano.
You pronounce it Ano, right?
That's what I pronounce it as.
I pronounce it as Ono. Like, oh no!
What? Yeah, which is weird because now that you say that, she pronounces. That's the only way she says a version. But what did Padme actually say?
I thought she said, like, Uncle Ono.
You are probably right. Honestly, you're probably right.
Because that's totally what I wrote down, like, the whole time is, like, Ono.
Oh no.
Yes. But I do have a note that Anaconda Farr's in 10 episodes of the Clone Wars.
Oh shit.
He's in 3 of the films. He's in The Phantom Menace, which on Wikipedia, it's listed as, like, Phantom Menace. And then it says, like, retcon in parentheses. So apparently he was, like, retconned back into The Phantom Menace, but I couldn't figure out exactly where.
He's probably in the Senate room, right?
I think he is. So I don't know if it was just, like, a Rodian that was dressed like him that was retconned to be named Anaconda Farr, or how that works.
That sounds right, because, you know, there are, like, the thousands of characters in that Senate room.
Right, because I thought he was the Rodian that you see in the small hologram on Palpatine's desk at the beginning of Attack of the Clones. But that's they look similar, but that is Darwok.
Okay.
Is the name of that guy, not Anaconda Farr.
Yeah, just being really racist towards all Rhodians.
Well, they have, like, the same clothes on too.
Yeah.
And
they all have the same clothes.
And he's like 3 inches tall and not in full color. So you got to give me that part.
They do make, speaking of the Rhodians real quick, they do make a slight attempt at giving them each distinct features.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly in the eyes, like in the weirdest subtle ways.
Mm-hmm.
The Rhodians' eyes on this program are more Starfield-like.
Yes, they're like
which
Alice's were.
Yeah. So that
boomerang head-shaped guy.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I never quite noticed that with, say, Greedo in A New Hope, you know?
So I must have been watching A New Hope the other day because I totally saw Greedo, and I think what you see in his eyes are just like set light reflection. So there's like 2 or 3 or 4 points of light in Greedo's eye. Oops.
Yeah.
And I guess that is just reinterpreted as like these starry-eyed galactic-eyed beings. I don't really know.
Yeah. So, like, Uncle Ono has his own, like, Starfield pattern sort of thing, and then, like, another Rhodian will come in and have, like, a more, like, milky appearance on his eyes. Right? So, like, there'll still be, like, there'll still be, like, a spattering of specks, but there might be, like, a more milky pattern that kind of flows through it rather than, like, specific spectral highlights that appear right on the eyeball, I guess, you know. But I find it interesting on this show that even when a character has more when a character doesn't have like whites of eyes for us to kind of have a sense of what they're looking at, the animators will still kind of give some sort of visual clue so that we have some sort of idea of what characters are looking at. So it's not just like a color,
just like a solid color void or something where you can't tell the orientation of the eyeball.
Exactly. Because there's, again, we'll get to it with Rebels, but there's a character description that changes in the translation to visual medium from book medium.
Ooh, that's cool.
Regarding eyes. I mean,
right.
So anyways, but back to this one. That I did find interesting, looking at the Rhodians as animated here. So, moving on. Padme starts to talk to Uncle Ono, yeah?
Yep.
She's just kind of checking on essentially what she was saying on the ship, you know.
Yeah, so a question that I have is that Ono is talking, and when he's talking to her, he's like, hey, I didn't think you'd come. I thought we were too small. And she's like, of course I'd be here. We're old friends, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, what friends? Like, nobody cares about us. Like, you don't care about us. And he says, where was the Republic when our supply ships were destroyed by pirates? Where was the Republic when my people starved? Where was the Republic when we were stranded without help? Like, there seems to be quite a few planets in the Star Wars universe that are not self-sustaining.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So is this an issue of longevity of life in the universe? Or, like, so before there was galactic travel, right? How did people survive on Rhodia if Rhodia is not self-sustaining?
I also kind of have this question. I wonder if it is... Is it because of like the prosperity of the entire galaxy that all races are overpopulating everything now? So like Rhodian resources are...
Well, so I was thinking that as well. Like, I can totally understand that Coruscant cannot sustain itself because there is there is no fucking land to grow food, right?
Yeah, there's no agriculture happening there.
Right. So obviously,
unless you have a rooftop garden.
Those supplies would need to come from somewhere else, right? Mm-hmm. But we have like a fly-in over Rhodia.
Yeah.
It's a big-ass swamp. The cities have fucking glass domes over them. Mm-hmm. So it's not like dome. No, it's like one here, and there's like, I think you can see like one way in the distance. Yeah. So it's not an issue of like overpopulation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's only so much space under these domes for Rhodians to inhabit. And it's a planet with water, so like that's not another issue either. Like,
and it's
not like dry like Tatooine.
Right, there's quite a bit of vegetation that we see.
Yeah.
Side note, Killian Plunkett, one of the designers / artist on the show. Anyway, one of the guys that's always in like the behind the scenes things that I talk about, talks about the plants on this. Mm-hmm. On Rhodia, and he designed them to be backwards, where like it's weird. Like the fruit that you see at the top is actually like the roots, and they grow down, and then underwater you see a bunch of what looks like roots, but those are like the leaves. I don't know. It's weird. They grow like down instead of up, so that, like they grow in reverse. I'm not really sure. But there's a little tidbit of information you probably didn't need to know.
There's my suspension of disbelief hangs from a pretty hardy wire, and then on occasion there'll be things that still snap that. Mm-hmm. You know. And hearing that kind of snapped that. So
yeah.
Anyways, that's a smaller point.
Grows backwards. Like this is somebody that doesn't understand how a plant grows.
Nothing about that makes any damn sense, especially on this planet that already kind of is confusing. But anyways, let's just get back into the sort of meat of this, right?
Yeah. So Padme is like, the Republic is going to help. There's a relief effort that's going to be voted on. The vote's just been postponed. But you're going to get your food. And Ono's basically like, yeah, well, too late. Like, I made a deal with this other dude, and he's totally going to help me out. Like,
yeah.
He's Space Jesus for the planet of Rhodia.
For the planet Rhodia, yeah.
And everything's going to be great. And that guy is Newt Gunray.
Yep. Promised food and aid. And so Padme, upon hearing that name, gets very upset.
She's very sad.
Newt Gunray. Yeah, they have some beef. They have some history.
That's right.
It's like Taylor Swift and Katy Perry. They got some bad blood going on. So
never thought of it that way, but okay. Which one is Taylor Swift? Which one's T Swift?
Taylor Swift is gonna be.
Is it Sadme or Gunman?
Ooh. That's a hard one because Padme's in the right and Taylor Swift is never in the right. So, but in this case, upon that analogy, taking it to its basis, T-Swift is always the one aggravating the hate. You know?
Okay.
She's the one putting on the offensive of aggression.
Okay.
And Katy Perry is the victim of Taylor Swift's hate.
I'm gonna go with Newt Swifty then.
Oh, really? I would have put Padme as the, like, yo, because here's the thing. Taylor Swift plays the aggressor, but she is aggressive because she plays the victim. Does that make sense?
Dude, that's totally Newt Gunray. Like, Newt Gunray once...
Yeah, you are right. You are right. The more I thought about that, yeah, Newt Gunray is a giant asshole that totally...
Faux sure.
All sorts of blockades and shit, yeah. And Padme has nothing to do but respond. Via song, hopefully.
If this was a musical, it may make this episode better.
Well, yeah. Well, let's keep going. We'll talk about how good this episode is, yeah?
Yeah. So we got a conversation back and forth between a kind of three-way conversation with Sadme, Newt, Taylor Swift.
Newt is there, by the way, yeah. So Newt does show up.
Yep.
So Uncle Ono mentions that Newt's going to help out, but then Newt himself literally just, like, happens upon this conversation and is like, oh, I didn't know you guys were here. I was just in town getting coffee.
So they're going to arrest her, essentially, right?
Yes.
And that's the end of this scene.
It's unclear upon what grounds they're going to arrest her. They're just arresting her because they don't like her face, I guess, you know. Which you're right in that sense that it makes Newt T-Swift.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so that basically ends that scene. Padme makes an attempt to call C-3PO via
that's right.
her comlink. That's barely important because nothing comes of it, essentially.
Doesn't a battle droid like grab it, throw it on the ground, and stomp on it? Is that what happens?
Yes. Yep. So she calls in, and then it cuts to C-3PO, and he's just dilly-dallying around. Like, they show it getting through, but he doesn't fucking hear it. So, again, there's an attempt that's made, which, I mean, it's just an awkward attempt, too, because she definitely fits in, like, 5 more sentences than a droid should let her get away with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the moment a comm is going up to her mouth, any of those droids should have been right there to, like, slap it out of her hand. But she literally gets in, like, C-3PO, Newt Gunray is here. Newt Gunray is here. Help me, C-3PO. Call blah, blah, blah for help. And then finally a droid is like, hey, stop that.
Hey, what are you doing?
Yeah. And then, so, if that action is to show her as being, like, resourceful and she's not, like, completely being a victim, it's just dumb because, I mean, even Jar Jar, if their places were swapped, would have at least gotten that much done, I think, because the droids are that inept at
I feel like Jar Jar would have, like, pulled out the comm link and then, like, whoopsies, and, like, threw it in the air and fumbled around, and then probably, like, knocked both the battle droids over, and they would have shot each other, and then he would have Forrest Gumped his way into some other situation, got the comm link back, and everything would have been good. So the end result probably would have been the same, but
you're not wrong.
It would not have been as smooth.
The manner, yeah.
And I do have one correction. We said that Newt Gunray was here. He's, like, on the way. Like, he called in on a holocom.
Oh, that's right. You're correct.
And then the battle droids show up, and then everything goes as planned, or as we've said. And then Newt Gunray basically says, like, yo, oh no, your food's on the way, and I'm coming to collect my prize. See you in 20.
Real quick, every time somebody holocoms in, are they just, like, waiting on the line for that? I mean,
it definitely seems like that.
It's always like they're perfectly timed. There's not, like, any weird awkward, like, oh, am I on right now? Is that? Oh, we're on right now. I don't see them. I can't hear them though.
I mean,
you're sure they're on?
when you and I sit down to talk about these episodes, we never have, like, any equipment malfunctions or snafus or anything like that. Like, everything's just solid. We're professionals. We sit down. We talk about
My computer didn't need a restart 3 times today. That's for sure.
That's right. My microphone
mic
didn't tumble to the floor. You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
we're professionals. We sit down and we have an agenda and
Everything's good go.
a large staff of people that are keeping us on task and make sure that we're at 90 minutes on these things on the dot. And
like no batteries go down either, which is always,
I don't think they use batteries. I don't think.
What is?
I think that they have transcended battery technology.
I don't know about that one.
Because I was thinking about this the other day when I was thinking back on Destroy Malevolence.
Uh-huh.
Which is like a month ago at this point, I guess, 4 weeks ago. And because we were talking about how the Malevolence was like just driving around the moon. And the good guy Star Destroyers were just like following the Malevolence and just like pew, 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 just like constant barrage of blaster fire. And I was thinking, like, eventually, wouldn't they run out of fucking batteries?
But
they don't.
It's weird because the lasers, any sort of like the laser firepower seems to be infinite. So like from rifles, from pistols, right? It seems to be infinite. But every now and then I feel like you kind of see somebody loading something into a pistol. Like, doesn't Rey load something into her pistol in Force Awakens? It has like that big front chamber on it,
Yeah.
Is that just a power supply? Like,
I don't know.
But then there are things that they definitely can run out of, right? Like, because proton torpedoes run out, right?
Yes.
And like any of the bombs that the Y bombers drop off.
Yeah, well, the bombs that the
like
Y bombers have,
bombs.
Are they? I was going to say that may be some type of physical projectile.
Yeah, so like there's some sort of physical chemical
something
chemical reaction happening.
Something
right?
that makes up.
There's some sort of reaction that
causes an explosion.
That gets spent, essentially, right?
Right.
Like, but the lasers seem limitless, so that is a good question.
Yeah. They definitely seem like that. So.
Yeah. I've never... It's one of those things I've noticed but never explicitly questioned, so we'll have to see if it's ever explained anywhere ever.
We will see.
Because the lightsabers are powered by the crystals, right? By the kyber crystals?
I don't think so. I don't know. So it seems like there's been some changes and updates to lightsaber technology as far as like the philosophy of how they work.
Yeah.
Because I guess that it's canon now that a Sith gets their red crystal by corrupting a regular kyber crystal.
Yeah, they corrupt the crystal itself. Yeah.
Which is not the way that it used to be. Like, it used to be that red was a synthetic crystal. Which was used by the Sith because they are... You can make them. Therefore, you don't... Because kyber crystals were, like, super, super fucking hard to find.
Yeah.
Right? And
that was, like, part of the Jedi training was
right.
Your
it was
crystal,
a test of the Force to even be able to get a fucking kyber crystal to build a lightsaber. So the Sith would synthesize theirs, and it was like a stronger crystal, which had the ability to overpower the blade of a regular kyber crystal. However, they were less reliable and were more prone to fault. Like, the actual blade came out stronger, but the likelihood of failure was higher, even if it's like an infinitesimal
mechanics.
Right. You know, even if it's super small, like whatever failure or glitch or whatever, that's the way it used to be, but now it's different. Which, if that's the case, how did Kylo end up with a red kyber crystal? Because you're supposed to, like, take a Jedi's weapon and torture them and kill them with it to corrupt the kyber crystal and make it bleed.
Think there'll be something at some point maybe that will reveal some of that, you know. Yeah, because the other question is, Anakin and Obi-Wan in Revenge of the Sith still fight with 2 blue sabers.
Mm-hmm.
And then in between Revenge of the Sith, what we see and what we see in Rogue One,
right?
He gets his red saber. But like the worst thing that he could do, as symbolized by his eyes changing colors, is kill the younglings, right? Mm-hmm. So like if his shit isn't turning red then and there,
right?
You know, I'm sure there's some sort of process. My memory is vague, but I feel like it gets explored somewhere in one of these television programs.
Yeah, I haven't looked into like the new canon of the red lightsaber crystal, and I don't really want to because the things that I've heard about it, I don't really like. And I feel
like given lots and lots of time, we might stumble upon it.
Maybe.
But I know with certainty that the basic lightsaber canon gets laid down far into the future of Clone Wars.
Okay.
But I cannot
But not
recall
the red crystal.
The red. Yeah,
I'm all about like the basic lightsaber mythology and all that stuff like that. I'm all good with. But this like corruption of a fucking crystal to turn it red and make it bleed.
I feel like that's a Rebels thing that comes up later.
I feel like the only reason I would find out more information on that is out of spite.
See,
so
it makes sense to me from a Jedi slash Sith, just like folklore standpoint, right? Like it's a little bit more, to me personally, just a little bit more interesting.
Okay.
In terms of, because like you're supposed to be emotionless essentially if you're a Jedi, but
so then why aren't their lightsabers white? Like why are they blue?
There's other qualities that go.
Did Mace Windu have a blue crystal that he like half corrupted, and that's why it's purple?
No, because the crystals themselves are the source of color, correct?
I don't know, because Jyn Erso's kyber crystal that she has is white. It's like clear. It's like a diamond, but larger.
Yeah, I'm surely misremembering this, but I always assumed it was something from the crystal itself that.
I think that's original. I think that's
canon
original
shit.
Canon. I don't know that transferred into new canon.
All right, we'll have to see.
Which is why I'm calling all this new canon lightsaber shit baloney.
We'll figure it out once we get there. But yeah, how did we get on lightsabers for this episode? Lasers. We were talking about lasers and infinite power source. And
yep.
Let's loop it back. We got to loop it back.
Yep. My next note here. Maybe this will pull us back on track. Is simply, did that bug fart?
Oh, my note is it's a Jar Jar fart joke.
Yeah, is it Jar? So did Jar Jar?
It's a Jar Jar fart joke.
I
it's
thought
a Jar Jar
that there was like a bug, and
nope.
the bug farted at Jar Jar.
Nope, it's Jar Jar, and it's played in the most lazy way to play a joke. It's literally like C-3PO, help, C-3PO from Padme, and then it cuts to them, and it's an establishing shot. Yeah, wide establishing shot, and then fart just comes in, and C-3PO is like, what was that? And then he obviously means the fart and not the comm, which is even worse. Like, that he got distracted by.
Says, how rude. And the reason I thought it was a bug is because he follows that up by, this swamp doesn't like us. So I thought it was like a bug that came in and like farted. And then C-3PO was like, what the fuck? Like, that bug just came over here and farted at us because it doesn't like us.
That shit was Jar Jar. Like, that was just dumb. Anyway, so that exists.
I mean, it gets better. Jar Jar gets better.
Oh, boy.
So like I said, C-3PO is convinced that the swamp does not like them.
Mm-hmm.
Jar Jar says something. So over the next several minutes, we've got some Jar Jar buffoonery. And when they first got to Rhodia, Jar Jar is like, "Ooh, it's like it reminds me of home. It's like the swamps back home on my home planet, the swamp planet." And I was thinking, like, okay, there is a swamp that we see on Naboo, right?
Yeah.
But for the most part, we see, like, some jungles and some
Like
rolling fucking beautiful plains and
like the cliffs and shit. Like, cliffs, waterfalls.
interspersed with water and waterfalls. Not
Yeah.
like Jar Jar says, this is a swamp planet like
No.
home.
It's like a Mediterranean beautiful planet. Like,
Right. It's like Venice.
So.
If Venice
Yeah,
weren't
exactly.
dirty and had more grass and beautiful fields and stuff.
and a few waterfalls here and there. And
Right.
yeah.
So either way, Jar Jar thinks that he can talk to the swamp directly. So he starts hopping around, looking like a fucking dingleberry, hopping around and making some. I think the subtitles say something like native swamp noises or something like
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
And the swamp itself throws like some sort of coconut-sized fruit or something
Yeah.
that hits C-3PO in the face and
Splats and
splats, and then Jar Jar does some more trying to talk to him, and his conclusion is basically like, this isn't like the swamp back home. It's different, and
no,
I don't know
it's
how
a
to talk to
different
it
planet.
because I'm trying to talk to a swamp.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's when we get some battle droids showing up, right?
Mm-hmm. They go to the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Jar Jar, of course, fucks shit up. That's exactly what I wrote in my notes.
Yeah, they're trying to get back on the ship, but Jar Jar like closes the ramp, and then they can't get all the way on, and then they fall off, and then it's more Jar Jar shenanigans.
Well, it's because like Jar Jar closes it before C-3PO gets on because he's a selfish asshole. He doesn't turn around to look that C-3PO's not on board.
That's right.
So then Jar Jar reaches out to try and pull C-3PO in, but when he does, he just ends up slipping out himself. So like they're outside of the ship and they like lock the keys on the inside.
So this goes back to the question of why they climbed out the wheel well
Yeah.
in was that Destroy? Shadow and Malevolence, I think, is when C-3PO and Padme did that. So C-3PO should have been like, hey,
Yeah.
let's just like climb back in through the fucking wheel well. Like, we can do it.
It's wide open. It's parked.
It's no problem. But instead, Jar Jar basically runs a hide and then gets himself tangled up in a couple of joysticks that are controlling like this giant fucking ceiling magnet,
Yeah.
which has no business being where it is.
Not at all.
And
Like it's not a port of any sort. It's not a shipping port, so it's
No.
not there to pick up any sort of supplies or
no.
containers or anything.
And this is not how you pick up containers at a port anyway. Like, these giant magnets are used to move scrap metal around in scrap yards.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're not.
I got nothing for you.
Yeah.
I got
So
no.
Jar Jar like picks up C-3PO and some battle droids and like smashes battle droids on accident, and then lets C-3PO down, and then as he's like trying to stand up or something, he like pulls on both sticks, and instead of like it's near their ship, and instead of like picking the ship up, it just like yanks the magnet out of the ceiling and like smashes the front of the ship.
Just drops down, just destroys the ship.
Which we often have issues of scale on this show, right?
Yeah.
But when just C-3PO is on this magnet, it looks slightly bigger than 3PO. So maybe like 8 feet across or something.
Like it's about his height maybe or just a little bit longer, but not by much more.
And then when it smashes the ship, it's like a third of the size of the fucking ship, which I don't
that also threw me off cuz like I thought it'd do some damage, but it straight up like crushes half of the fucking ship.
It crushes half of the fucking ship. Just fucking destroys it.
Yeah. So that is all ridiculous. The only thing I will mention, neither positively nor negatively, but the music in this episode's given its own flavor versus the normal Star Wars kind of sound.
Yeah, we kind of jump back and forth on that style in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, where it's like more traditional John Williams stuff, or like, hey, we're gonna try something different. And in this one, they kind of mix influences, which I find interesting. So there's a very Celtic beat that kind of progresses through some of these more action sequences.
Okay.
Kind of more like, I don't know, like playful violin and flute tones going on. And then on occasion, they'll kind of mix in like a very southern, like Mediterranean influence, like southern Italy or Grecian music sort of thing, you know?
Okay.
Or like like sort of Spanish somewhere, just in the generic realm of Mediterranean.
Yeah, which is weird because like the design style of Rhodia itself was more like, I think they described it as like Cambodian. Right.
Yeah, it's neither Celtic nor Mediterranean.
Right.
Like
so
it makes no sense.
If they could have synced those things,
yeah,
I guess maybe they didn't want to do that to like not.
Well, like when you already have Newt Gunray, who
Right.
needed to kind of get cleaned up in the later movies,
Right.
and if you're gonna throw in more Cambodian references, that's a tight line to walk. Right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a tight line to walk. So,
Yeah, and
but
I'm
like
sure that
Celtic, and that's an easy reference to kind of just throw in, right? And
It does not work well.
no, it's not great. It's not as awkward as the weird EDM that was happening in what was it in Downfall and Duel of a Droid, right? Just these last couple of episodes.
Downfall for sure.
Yeah, it's not as awkward as that, but it's still just like okay, this is different. It stands out, not in a great way, but not awfully. So that's the one note I had there regarding music. So, anyways, Jar Jar destroys Padme's ship. They still get onto the ship, the part that's not completely crushed.
Yeah. So 3PO's response is typical, and then it cuts to Padme, who's in chains, and like that it just shows that she's like chained up, and they are not like, that's all that you see, right?
Essentially, yeah, they just chain
Padme
her up just so we're just checking up on her, yeah, that's I didn't even take that note because it was so inconsequential to me. Like we already know she's been taken prisoner. To see her in chains is not necessary by any means. Like,
I think for me that was
nothing
just like a
established there.
placekeeper. Like, okay, this is what happens, and then like nothing happens after it. So, like you said, it is inconsequential because we cut back to 3PO, and then my question was, okay, how'd they get on the ship now? Like, what? One, why are they on the ship?
Yeah.
And then two, how did they get on the ship? Because they're just like standing there on the inside, like at the edge of where everything was like crushed off the fucking front of it. So the landing ramp's gone, like all that shit's gone. They had to have climbed up there. Okay, I get that Jar Jar could have done that, but 3PO doesn't really seem that agile, right?
No, he doesn't have that dexterity to kind of like grip and pull himself up onto that.
And we just saw that Jar Jar can't fucking pull him up anywhere because he would have just fallen back out. So
I got nothing for this one.
It's a real awkward cut because like we cut to them and they're just like standing there staring at each other. And then
for a second I was not sure where they were until they started talking about it. It was like the one time the dialogue came in to save the day, like.
And then Jar Jar like turns his head and he's like, "Look, a working button," which makes me believe that in the intervening very short time that we cut away and they climbed up on the ship, that he's just been like walking around like pushing buttons.
But how does he know that one's working before he hits it?
I don't know, and
I had that question.
So he pushes the button and it opens a door, and
to a closet.
Which
is why is the button like 10 feet away from the closet?
in case you're like on the back end of the bridge and you need to open the closet for somebody.
Yeah.
Is it? I mean, the button to open my trunk of my wife's car is like by the steering wheel, so maybe it's kind of like that.
I guess. I mean,
but it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So,
because it's like having the button to unlock your bathroom in the kitchen, I guess, you know, like.
Yeah, I don't have a button that locks my bathroom.
But that's kind of what it would be like, right? Because, like, at least with your trunk, it's like oh, I'm parked, I need to get to my trunk, so let's hit this button, you know? Mm. But it's just a door to a closet, right?
And on a personal note, I don't like closet doors, and I removed them from most of the rooms in my house.
Interesting. That's very interesting. My closets are always a mess. I hide shit in my closet, so I need those doors.
Yeah. In my kids' rooms, we took the doors off because it makes the room a little bigger, right? Yeah. Just a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
So, and I don't have like a hall closet, really. I've got like a linen closet, so like that's got a door on it, but
yeah,
like in the bedroom,
but in your bedroom closet,
not so much. Because if it's not big enough to have like multiple sliding doors, then it's just a pain in the ass because the opening's not like big enough, and you're just sliding fucking doors back and forth all the time.
Yeah,
and if it's a door that hinges and swings open, then that just takes up floor space in the bedroom itself.
Like you can't put anything near that door because you need to
open the door, right?
Open. Yeah.
So if you just get rid of the doors, you do not have this problem. And then we like built like nice inset, like custom built-in closets. So you know, it's like a built-in wardrobe in the closet with hanging shit. So
yeah,
it works.
See that makes sense. Whereas because I have the sliding ones, but I live in a studio apartment, so I hide shit in there. There's not a lot of places to hide shit here, so
right.
Yeah. I need every hideable spot I can get. So, but anyways, so they in this whole closet thing is really bizarre. The way they kind of unveil this, I found very just distressing because it was just a whole lot of nothing. But
the closet,
yeah.
So what's in the closet?
There is a Jedi robe in there.
Yes,
and nobody thinks anything of it.
So half of me wonders if 3PO knows what's going on. He's just kind of programmed not to say anything. Because Jar Jar's like, ooh, it's a Jedi robe. Whose is that? Oh, no, 3PO says, what did you break now? And then like the door opens and he's like, a Jedi robe. And Jar Jar asks...
C-3PO 100% knows though, you know, like...
Yeah, Jar Jar asks, whose do you think it is? And 3PO says... He like stammers over himself and he says, don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So C-3PO is trying to be good at the very least and maintain this secrecy. Like he won't be the one to break, which I do appreciate that point.
Yeah.
But it's still a lot of steps to get to this, which we'll see why they need to go through all of this just to get a fucking Jedi robe.
I think that we could have expected a Jedi robe to show up, or a Jedi. I mean, this episode is called Bombad Jedi, right? Yeah. And so we got the Bombad, which is Jar Jar, and now we got the Jedi, which is the robe, and we're gonna combine those together. Like this is what happens next: is Jar Jar puts this robe on. C-3PO's asking him like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And he's Jar Jar isn't. The interesting part, which is something that I kind of like, because in this instance, Jar Jar isn't just an idiot, but he's like a lovable idiot, because he puts this Jedi robe on not to pretend to be a Jedi, but so that he can like put the hood up and like cover up his face, and it's so people don't recognize him.
Yeah.
Like, everybody knows it's a fucking Jedi robe. And he's like, ooh, I put this on and nobody recognizes who I am. And then I can walk around and I go find Padme. Like, this is good. I'm helpful.
And he's not making the connection that people are going to just see him as a Jedi first because of the robe. Like,
which is exactly what happened. So, at this point, Gunray lands.
Yep. I do have that note here.
Jar Jar is sneaking around to try to find Padme.
Mm-hmm.
Gunray is talking about where she is, and so Jar Jar finds out that she's in a fucking tower, because of course she is. She's the princess in a tower that needs to be rescued by a knight.
Yeah.
In this instance, it's a bumbling idiot wannabe, pretending to be Jedi Knight robe, at least, I don't know. So Jar Jar's puts on this attempt to rescue Padme.
Mm-hmm. Which fails in about 20 seconds.
Yeah, if it even lasts that long.
Yeah. So basically, he overhears where she is, and then immediately a droid spots him, and then...
Right, the droid's like, "Look, sir, a Jedi!"
Yeah. And then Newt is like, "Oh shit, a Jedi," and then turns around, and then Jar Jar is like, "Oh shit, a Jedi."
Where's the Jedi?
Yeah, and Jar Jar doesn't fucking understand that they mean him. So then
this is where he goes back to just being an idiot, because he should be like, "Oh, they mean me," but C-3PO has to point it out to him. I think they mean you.
Because you're in the fucking Jedi robe.
Right.
So anyways, then the droids go after them, and then Jar Jar runs and hides underwater. And then there's this weird sequence that kind of happens, right? Where as the droids are kind of looking for him, he kind of pops up through a grate or something.
Yeah, the whole floor of this city is small sections of grating where you can just lift up a grate and drop down into the water below.
Yeah,
and by the way, this is not how a swamp works. It's not like a giant fucking pool that you can swim around in and has lily pads and shit.
Yeah, and it's perfectly clean in every section too,
Right.
Because I don't know how many lakes you've been in, but because lakes aren't always refreshing with water on a large scale, right?
They're cloudy.
Yeah, they're cloudy and muddy as shit.
I live at the confluence of the Missouri and the Mississippi, and both of the names of these rivers have to do with mud. So I am well aware of not clear water.
Yeah, it's fucking gross. At the very least, for growing up in Michigan, Lake Michigan is big enough that you're essentially dealing with seas rather than what you would traditionally think of as a lake,
Right.
They're essentially the size of an actual sea.
Right.
So the water has a lot of places to kind of get sloshed around. But the smaller inland lakes, my family would end up at sometimes, and the water was just not my favorite thing to be in.
No. We've got a couple of large man-made lakes here in Missouri, and one of them is Lake of the Ozarks, which is notorious for being full of shit. It's when the houses were first built around this lake, the plumbing for the houses literally just dumped the sewage in the fucking lake.
Jesus.
All of this stuff has since been
remedied,
but it's still not a clean lake at all.
Yeah, no. Nah, yeah, I don't like swimming in any inland lake per se.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, it's at least with a beach too, there's sand and stuff, but when you're walking in and out of a lake, there's always the gross seaweed that your foot sinks into up to your knee.
Yeah.
And it's nothing but mud.
Unless you have an artificial beach or a dock.
Yeah.
Or something.
That's why you need the fucking dock, unless you want to put one foot into the grossest feeling shit ever. It's disgusting. Anyways, so Jar Jar is hiding under this fucking water. There are grates. He pops up above the grate. This episode, I want to bring up another technical point at this point.
Okay.
There are some really weird camera zooms and camera pulls and camera pans that kind of happen. So...
Are you saying Pam?
So Pam shows up. Pam shows up.
So this is where Pam gets there, right?
This is where Pam shows up. That's
and
a nice...
she saves JJ.
Nice callback. Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of fucking weird. There is a zoom that happens earlier, I think, on C-3PO, where C-3PO somebody says something like Jar Jar says something fucking retarded, and it like kind of zooms in on C-3PO.
I'm imagining that this is like when Jar Jar crushes the ship, and then we get like a zoom in close up to 3PO.
Yeah, it's like that's probably when he said like typical or something like that.
Typical.
But they didn't. The zoom is small enough as to be unnecessary, but big enough as to be noticeable. So the master of this sort of joke zoom for emphasis right now is Quentin Tarantino.
Okay.
Because he's kind of lampooning like old Hong Kong movies that used to do it, right? You know.
Okay.
But the best example would be fucking Kill Bill 2 when Padme is like beating down the bride, you know? So like he like says his fucking insult and like it has like a big zoom that just goes straight in on his face, right? But it's like it's starting from like a mid shot where like you see most of his waist and it just goes straight into his face, you know? Like that's a big zoom.
Yeah.
In this one it's like neck and then it kind of just zooms into chin level, like.
Yeah, usually you're the one that
weird.
Is providing the technical information as far as shot composition and whatnot. And this must have been jarring enough that I actually made a note about it.
Did you? Yeah.
And it just says, quick pan to Jar Jar climbing out of hole with wind noise. Like, as the camera, like, yep. I noticed so as the camera zooms in, it does, like, the...
Yeah.
Like,
it's
as
fucking
if
weird.
The camera was moving.
Yeah, so then to get to the pan, it's weird because, like, we see the droids walking off on the grate, and then nowhere near them, but, like, not terribly far as to avoid this pan. I would say maybe like 30 feet, 50 feet away. Right? It's like it should have just been a cut, but they wanted to kind of have the relationship of where those two characters were.
I guess.
You know? So it's a weird, quick pan. It doesn't make any fucking sense. It's like, here's the droids, and here's Jar Jar.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
Like, we gotta literally fucking fly over here real quick.
Yeah.
And I use the L word because you hear the motion of the thing moving from one place to another.
Exactly. And it moves in a way that, like, no real camera would ever be able to move. Mm-hmm. And which, you know, now with CGI and stuff, of course we have, like, a lot of camera moves that are, like, CGI aided and such, you know.
Like through windows or through a mirror and then the shot's reversed, like out the other side.
Or even like Avengers when they show each Avenger in New York doing their individual thing and like so like it follows Iron Man and then like it stops on Hulk who's like punching somebody and then Thor steps in and the camera follows
and then
Thor.
Follows Mjolnir over to
back to Scarlet
that
to
shoots
Scarlett
an arrow
Johansson.
that goes down to fucking Black Widow who jumps off of Captain America's shield and we go back to Iron Man.
Yeah. So at least in that instance, technically speaking, yeah, sure, like that's a lot of camera moves that one single camera cannot physically do, but that camera at the very least is still following the basic like laws of physics as if it were attached to some sort of drone, right? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like there's still like some spatial sense and weight to where this camera is going.
I thought that they just gave the camera to Peter Parker to have him film.
Who's just whipping it like.
Yeah.
They just taped it to Mjolnir, like, you know.
Yeah, is that not?
That's not. I'm sorry. Sorry to destroy the magic. I'm so sorry. So we're gonna have to have a strong, long talk when Christmas comes around. By the way, I have shit to tell you.
So, part of the shots in that documentary called The Avengers.
Yeah. I'm sorry to say they're
was
They
faked.
weren't real.
Is that
They were
what you're saying?
staged. They were staged. Yeah.
But
WWE though, all real.
Just
all
parts
real.
of it, right?
No. Nope. Just yeah. I'm sorry to say, it's all an illusion, not a trick, but it's all an illusion.
I'm gonna have to think that one over.
But that's my main problem with this. I'm not against a long one shot, especially because I understand that they're trying to give some frame of reference as to where Jar Jar is when he pops out of this grate. But kind of like the animation I've been complaining about with the abrupt Ahsoka sad face to Ahsoka smiling, and it's just like a to B without any sort of subtle bounce back, right? She just goes automatically into smile, but there's no wide smile then return to a normal smile, right?
Yes.
This camera does the exact same thing. It's pointed at A, and then it just snaps to point B without any sort of natural slow down to it or anything.
So you're saying that
there's no easing into it.
You're saying that when Ahsoka smiles, you want to hear the wind noise because she smiles so fast.
Basically, because her fucking robotic face it just snaps into place. You know what? The analogy that it wasn't. I don't remember for this episode or not, but the more I look at these weird fucking robotic faces, that's exactly what they are. It's they remind me of bad Pirates of the Caribbean animatronics.
Yeah, we definitely did compare them to animatronics in the past.
Good. Okay,
yeah.
We've gone through, what are we on, 16 of these, so
this is number 16.
And it keeps coming back. So I just fuck this animation. But anyway, so now the camera motions are getting into this weird staggered animation that gets really rough. So
yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the choice was for this wind noise thing that we got going on,
because it's a lot more rendering that has to happen, because if you have to draw everything in between those two shots too, it doesn't make any fucking sense,
right?
And why the wind noise? Because at first I was trying to figure out if the wind noise was just naturally in that room, but again they're in
it's
this
not.
weird dome spot, and it all I would have needed is is it in A New Hope where they show the stormtroopers walking the Millennium Falcon, and as soon as they walk over, you just see Han Solo popping his head out of one of the fucking panels, right?
Yes.
That's all I would have fucking needed, right? It wouldn't have been hard enough to put a camera somewhere, not awkwardly floating above, but where Jar Jar is popping out, and we just see Newt Gunray walking away in the background. That would have. I have no idea what the decision was here.
You could even have the camera underneath with Jar Jar, and hear the fucking battle droids walking. Yeah, and then have him pop his head up from underneath.
Yeah, I got nothing for this weird stylistic choice. It just
I don't either. Whatever works.
There's so many other ways they could have gone about this, but it was bad enough that it clearly, we've been talking about it for 10 minutes now.
Right.
These choices are just fucking weird.
To distract you from that, Jar Jar does not have gills that I can see. So he has no reason to be able to breathe underwater unless he's a frog that can breathe through his skin or something. But that's a story for another day.
No, but real quick, we do see him inhabiting underwater for quite some time as he swims down to the Gungan city.
Yeah, he can.
Right?
The Gungans.
Is he just holding his breath?
I don't think so. I think they can breathe underwater.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They can definitely breathe underwater. Yeah.
It's just an issue of how do they breathe underwater?
Yeah, because whether you wanted to take this as canon or not, on Star Tours there is a scene where you go to the Gungan city. Mm-hmm. And as your Star Tour ship, as your Star Tour ship kind of floats by, there is Jar Jar just standing there outside of the bubbled city, and he just waves at your ship. And depending on which version you get, he either waves at the ship and you just kind of fly by, or you cut close and he kind of ducks under. But yeah, he's just standing there. He's not, and he makes a noise as you pass him too. You know.
Is it like a gurgling noise?
No, it's definitely like a normal, as if he were in air, like noise. There's no gurgling. There's no there's no bubbly like you know. I can't even imagine what that sounded like on the mic. So
I think it sounded exactly like you expected it to.
That's my gurgle.
It came out good. It sounded good.
So it sounds like you and I are in agreement that he can breathe underwater. We just don't know how. We are not
correct.
We are never explained this. So, anyways, okay. Moving on from that, what happens next?
Now
I'm so lost.
I think we're gonna have to accelerate some stuff here.
Yeah, let's do it.
JJ puts the robe back on. Okay, Jar Jar.
Yes.
Jar Jar puts the robe back on. One of the battle droids says something about a Jedi. So at this point, Padme's like, "Oh shit, there's a Jedi," and like starts playing it up like she can see the Jedi. Like, "Oh, Master Jedi, thanks for rescuing me," and blah blah blah, and all this shit. Mm-hmm. She just picks the locks on her handcuffs, which I don't know why she didn't do this like 20 minutes ago.
I got nothing for you there. It's probably been a long process. She's not looking at it, you know. She's just blindly taking her hairpin or whatever she fucking had, and it's just like
she does that shit like real quick, like, but whatever.
But she waited 20 minutes to do it. Yep.
So anyway, she comes out and just starts fucking kicking ass and just whooping some battle droids. She obviously escapes.
Saves C-3PO.
Yeah, my note on that is Padme does an awesome jump, move, shoot, kick, slide thing. Saves C-3PO.
It's essentially like the move you would have seen in any good 90s action flick, you know.
The only difference is that there's like not a Trans Am or something that she's sliding across the hood of.
Basically, yeah. Yep. Yeah, she just is hopping freely in the air, yeah. Like if you had like a dove in there, it would have been like a perfect like John Woo move, you know.
Very nice. Nicely done. So 3PO lets her know that there is no Jedi. It's Jar Jar. And she's like, fuck. And then I think Newt comes back to... No, Newt and Ono are talking.
C-3PO also reveals the news about the ship.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the one joke that worked for me. The one single joke that works is that the ship is destroyed. C-3PO is like, hey, we can't leave on the ship. That's why we can't call anybody either. Mm-hmm. The ship got destroyed, and Padme is like, oh, battle droids? No, Jar Jar. All right.
Jar Jar. Yep.
Yeah. That's the one joke that worked on me.
And she's like, all right, I guess I'll go save Jar Jar.
Yeah. So, like, I appreciate the point that even in universe, the characters kind of hate Jar Jar's bullshit that he puts them through. Still doesn't explain anything else, but I
like
at least
Jar Jar the
character
still annoys the people that are around him.
Yeah, I appreciate knowing that in universe that he knows the shit out of them. But anyway, so yeah, then Padme and C-3PO make some sort of plan to capture Newt Gunray first, right? So
I've got Newt talking to Ono, and Ono's like, yo, where's the beef? And Newt's like, I'll be here after the execution. So then Ono's like, what execution? You didn't say anything about that. And so then we get some like sad Ono.
Like, now Ono's upset.
Yeah, Ono's like, oh no.
Like, you knew what you were in for. Like, come on, dude. Like,
yep.
You knew what this was.
So then the Newt goes to get Padme, but she's gone because she escaped.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Jar Jar was climbing up the tower to try and rescue Padme. And then at the same time that Newt is there, Jar Jar just happens to be coming up. And then, again, like a fucking idiot,
he falls.
As soon as Newt is like, oh, she's not in there, and Jar Jar's like, she's not in there, and then, like, slips.
And he does some accidental ankle bungee jumping.
Yeah.
Which catches him just in time to not smash his fucking brains out. And then...
to our disappointment as viewers, I guess.
Yeah, sure. So he gets untangled from that somehow or whatever.
Yeah. Padme shows up, finds him. Some battle droids show up, so another.
And then Jar Jar hides back in the water, right?
Yes, he jumps back into the water. So
this is when my note. So my note says JJ falls, snags Vine, bungee jumping. Pam saves JJ. JJ hides in water.
Yes, and then when JJ goes in the water, a battle droid or like a bunch of the droids like throw a bunch of grenades down. That
there is like a shit ton of thermal detonators under there.
Yeah, like they're all around him.
I think it's like the super battle droids come up and they're like, "Come on, you fucktards! Like, do it the right way.
Just throw them in." Yeah, and then one of them then like throws in a heat-seeking like thermal detonator.
It's something like that because it is like following him around, right?
Yeah, like it's completely following his trajectory around. Like it's not traveling in a straight line, nor is it obeying the laws of gravity per se. You know.
Yeah, at this point, I had a note questioning how effective Jar Jar actually should be at swimming because he does not have, like, webbed feet or anything like that.
No, he's got, like, the weird nubbed, like, elephant feet, too. Right?
No webbed hands and feet, just elephant feet. So,
yeah, but he moves fast.
He moves real fast. He moves faster than he should be able to. He shouldn't be able to breathe underwater, but he can. He shouldn't be able to swim very well, but he can like super fucking swim.
Evolutionarily speaking, this makes no fucking sense.
It's bizarre, but it works for him, I suppose.
Yeah. So the heat tracking grenade is following Jar Jar real fast. It's essentially a dogfight that's happening underwater, but with Jar Jar and a single grenade instead of like a ship and a torpedo.
Correct.
Or like a fighter and a torpedo, I should say.
So this is like we saw this in Cat and Mouse, like instead of the giant penis-shaped ship that shouldn't be able to cloak and or fly and or do much of what it does.
Yeah.
And some torpedoes. We've got Jar Jar and
like a heat-seeking grenade, which is fucking weird.
Right.
Like that's what I wrote it as, like at first, because it's confusing because it pops out of the battle droid's like arm unit thingy. Right.
Yeah. Is it the super battle droid with like the cannon arm? That fires, so he basically like fires a fucking torpedo at him. I think
like he has a Mega Man cannon arm, right?
Yes.
Is that what that is? Okay.
Yes. So this is the second time that we've seen one of those. The last one was in Shadow of Malevolence, where and it just straight shot like a fucking cannon, blew up the track.
Like just like an RPG, right? Like,
yeah, I think so.
So here I don't know where this fucking thing comes from. But anyway, so Jar Jar is swimming around. There's a big, like, giant slug thing underwater that he kind of runs into.
Yeah, I described it as like a caterpillar, but I think the design on this thing was... so which one came out first? You remember back in Rookies? The big slug monster that ate Cut Up?
Yes.
We see it like once or twice. It just like pops out of the rock, eats Cut Up. Mm-hmm. This thing looked like that to me.
I agree. Yeah. I didn't make that connection until just now, but now that I remember Rookies.
Mm-hmm. So,
God, it's,
the production code on Bombad Jedi is 105. The production code on Rookies is 114. So, I'm thinking that it was designed for this function and then used for the...
They just transplanted it over.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though we saw it first in that episode.
Yeah.
Because I do remember some comment in the behind-the-scenes stuff about how there needs to be some sort of adversary, like a natural adversary on the asteroid base that they were on or whatever. So anyway, Jar Jar meets this slug thing that looks like a giant fucking caterpillar.
Yeah, that's all it looks like, yeah.
In Jar Jar fashion, he makes friends with it, and to the point of like giving it a hug and like kissing it on the cheek.
Well, first of all, so the heat grenade.
That's later.
Yeah, the heat grenade is following Jar Jar, and then Jar Jar runs into the slug monster thingy, and then from above the grates we see an explosion, which is really oddly animated because it's not a big enough splash as to look like any damage had been done, but it looks like a mall water fountain that broke. Like,
you have to imagine that the explosion was deep enough that the above surface level water eruption was not as impressive as if it was like blowed up right on the surface.
Yeah, it was. I'll give it that, but it's enough that like Padme sees the explosion and freaks out, so then they all just kind of agree that like Jar Jar's dead for a hot second.
Yeah, Padme's like, Jar Jar, no! And at this point, oh no. And Newt Gunray are showing up. So everybody's coalescing in the same area, which tells me that we're getting closer to the end of this thing.
Yeah, we're moving along. So it cuts back pretty much immediately as to not provide any tension at all. Jar Jar climbs out of the mouth of the slug monster that protected him from the blast.
Okay, actually before that, we have 3PO like at some radio like trying to call for help.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah.
So 3PO gets a hold of a clone.
And the clone doesn't believe that C-3PO is actually a legitimate call of some sort.
Right, and then my note is that 3PO gets arrested. So 3PO is like trying to call for help. He gets a hold of like one clone. It's not very convincing that the message was delivered. And then 3PO gets taken into custody also. This is where we cut back to the slug.
Yeah.
Underwater.
So, yep. So Jar Jar climbs out of the mouth of the slug monster and then is like, "You have saved me," and then hugs it, and they become friends, like on the spot.
They're besties.
So, yep. And then
besties without testes.
So Padme and C-3PO are about to be executed by Gunray as they are fully captured and all that shit.
Yep.
So all the droids are all lined up, and then they're doing the full countdown and all that shit. And then, go ahead.
The little interchange that I have written down between 3PO and Padme after they're reunited and they're facing the Death Squad is that 3PO is like, "Hey, did you find Jar Jar?" And Padme's like, "Yeah, he's dead." And 3PO is just like, "Not again."
Yeah.
Like, fuck, this always happens.
Yep. And then pretty much as soon as that exchange happens, Jar Jar comes back in the fucking cloak. And they're all like freaked out. They're like, "Oh my god, kill the Jedi." And so they're about to shoot at Jar Jar, or they start shooting at Jar Jar, who kind of evades all the shots somehow.
By dancing. That's what my note says. He just dancing.
He's just kind of jumping around. And it's like, it's dancing the way that, like, in the old Western movies when somebody's, like, trying to intimidate another character, he's like, "Fucking dance for me," and, like, starts shooting at the ground, you know?
Yeah.
It's sort of
It's
thing.
that, but it's worse.
Yeah. But then the slug thing shows up and starts mowing down on the fucking droids, so that happens.
Pops up through the floor, the ground, whatever you want to call it.
Which I don't know how, you know, like the Great, we're assuming, has been there for a while, you know, like this is Rhodia, like they're a civilized country, but the slug thing has never once just wanted to break through that, and the Rhodians have never had
It never made friends with a Bombad Jedi before.
I guess. It's a weird system, like if the slug can do that, but there's never been any like protocol, like, you know.
Yep.
It's like getting surprised that somebody's getting eaten by a shark at the beach, you know, like.
What I found even weirder than that, even weirder than Jar Jar jumping around to not get shot, even weirder than the slug just popping out and like eating some battle droids or whatever he does to the battle droids, right? Jar Jar jumps on the slug, and then it scurries across the platform because like Newt Gunray's like, "Fuck, I'm out of here," right? Takes off running, and the slug pushes Newt Gunray's ship off of the edge of the
just like
landing
knocks
platform.
it off,
just pushes it fucking off into the water.
Yeah, and it just flops over, goes down.
So Jar Jar makes the dumbass comment like, "Ooh, I made a very good friend."
Yeah.
Like, great. That's awesome. So it's at this point that we learn a secret about our great uncle Ono, and that is.
Do we?
Yeah.
Do we?
So we learn that Ono is actually a double agent.
Okay. Let's this. We need to take some time with this because I have reservations on that judgment.
Okay, go ahead.
So here's the play-by-play. Essentially, is let me double check my notes. So Padme gets a gun pointed at Newt Gunray.
Okay.
Right. So Padme essentially is like, "Hey, we gotcha. Give up, Newt." Then Ono shows up with a gun, and the framing makes it look like the gun is pointed towards Padme.
Mm-hmm.
Slightly. It's definitely not super clear. It's definitely playing, obviously, in between the lines a little bit.
Right.
And Newt is like, "Hey, we have a gun on you, so Ono, like, take care of her, you know?" So then Padme is like, "Oh, shit," for a hot second. Then Padme says Ono was always with the Republic. And then Ono is like, "Oh, yeah, like, I would never turn my back on the Republic." But
So do you think it's a cover-up that... Like, do you think Padme's making it up?
oh, Padme's making that shit up.
Okay.
Because if I did rewatch this a couple of times, there's a few... There's another hint that kind of comes a little bit later.
Okay.
But in this moment when she says it, because it's coming from her, not from him. So she's
Right.
the one that brings it up. She says Ono's always been working for the Republic.
Right.
And then there's still a slight hesitation in the robotic animation that they give him.
Okay.
There's a slight hesitation. There's kind of like a shifting of the eyes between Padme and Newt Gunray from Ono.
Okay.
And then Ono is like, "Yeah, that makes fucking sense, of course." And then the gun like clearly goes on Newt Gunray.
Okay.
So then Newt Gunray gets taken away. I'll just wrap this up real quick and then wrap up the other part of the evidence. So Newt Gunray gets arrested. Clones arrive. So C-3PO's message got through.
Right.
Palpatine holograms in and talks to Ono and is like, "Yo, we heard your message, and Padme made it really clear that you guys need some fucking help, so aid and relief is on its way."
Can we talk real quick about this weird shot when you see the good guy Star Destroyers in the sky? Because it's like...
because they're just like they're overhead.
They're overhead, but it is like this weird, like, sexualized shot of Padme, like, lower torso, chest area, like, up.
Yeah.
It's
like the typical, like, Michael Bay shot on literally any Victoria's Secret model that he has in whatever movie he's happening to make, you know?
Yep.
Whether it's Megan Fox in Transformers or Rosemary Huntley. No,
I don't know.
I forgot her name in the third one, but
I
the
called it
not Megan Fox replacement.
Yeah, I called it the perky tit shot from underneath.
Yeah,
Like,
that's pretty much exactly what it was. I did notice that and was also awkward about that whole situation, which is really fucking weird. Now, here's the last part that makes it very clear to me that Ono was that Padme was doing what she could to save face for Ono.
Okay.
Is that Ono asks Padme for her forgiveness in turning on her.
Okay, I missed that.
Yeah, so that's the reasoning I got, that Ono legit was like turned against Padme, even if just for like this one excursion adventure. You know?
Right.
So Ono was like, "Look, I'm really sorry that I sided with Newt Gunray." You know. And then it closes with Padme responding, "Hey, it's the Republic that should be asking for your forgiveness because we turned our backs on you during your time of need." Right.
Gotcha.
So that to me right there is the hard nail on the head that Padme was saving face for her Uncle Ono. She found a very clever way to kind of work that in. So yep, Republic should be asking for his forgiveness. Iris down, credit, and loud music.
Cut to loud music, man.
Cut to loud music. Cue loud music. We did it. We're at 96 minutes according to my time.
Yep.
We're better than last time. So let's wrap this shit up. Let's keep this going. This good momentum going. What do we got?
All right. So
what do you think of this
thumbs
episode?
down. Oh, you want me to go first?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So initially, what I had to say was simply thumbs down. See note 36, and note 36 for me was that the beginning of that interchange where Padme's like, now it's time for you to actually learn who Ono is, and he's fucking double agent, super secret spy, or whatever. Like, he's been working for us the whole time.
Yeah.
And so when that happened, I was like, all right, like, episode's over. Like, I'm done with this. Which is probably why I didn't read into it the way that you did and pay attention.
You were just already mentally checked out.
I was like, all right, I'm done.
Anymore.
Like, really, because like I was in my eyes, I'm thinking the whole time, there's no inclination, there's nothing to lead you to believe that is true. And based on what you're telling me, it's not true.
It's not true. Because in my notes, Padme says Ono was always with Republic, can't be true, is what I wrote in my notes. I agree with you. That reveal is fucking dumb.
So I based my thumbs up, thumbs down opinion on that reveal. Because I was calling it bullshit. But I was calling it bullshit for a different reason than you're calling it bullshit.
Yeah.
Your explanation makes me like it a hell of a lot more. Mm-hmm. Because it actually is bullshit.
I see that point. Yeah. No, sorry. I like that little bit of character that Padme throws in, that she is just doing what she can to get her uncle out of this,
Right.
So.
And that's pretty incredible. Like,
so does that change?
I am going to stick to my guns and keep it as a thumbs down. Because even though that definitely does change my opinion of the outcome of this episode, but it doesn't necessarily change my opinion of the episode.
Yeah.
And for me, it's not even Jar Jar. Like, Jar Jar does not bother me. Like, he's got some buffoonery and shenanigans going on. Like, whatever. He's fine. Mm-hmm. It, doesn't bother me. It's not essential to the story.
Yeah.
But I wish, for me, I would have been able to feel a hard edge one way or the other on just to solidify, like, yes, Padme's lying, or yes, Ono was lying. Because I'm mealy mouth, wishy-washy, on the edge of, like, your explanation totally makes sense. But when I watched this episode, and it could very well be because my mind was made up at that point, fuck it, I'm done with this.
Okay.
So I'm sticking with
good. Okay.
I'm sticking with my original opinion.
No, I like that. That was like the final, like,
that was the final
assurance.
straw. That was the breaking point.
That was your final straw that you had already committed that this episode was not favorable in your opinion, and that was like it. And yet in seeing it differently, that the episode is still shit regardless of that. I like.
And I won't call it shit, but it's not
which is not good. Yeah.
Yeah. If I can't say yes, this was good, then it's not. It's not that and some of these, like, it's not that I don't like them.
Yeah.
But I don't like them. Like,
yeah, they're just not good. Yeah.
And I'm indifferent. It's like, whatever. I can take it, I can leave it.
I'm gonna say I'm with you on that. Like I agree. Despite Jar Jar being in this episode, I didn't absolutely hate it. I just there's enough weird missteps in storytelling to make it just difficult to watch,
Mm-hmm.
or unfavorable, Yeah, so it's not awful, it's not good though, but it's like it's in the realm of just sort of bad, not
Right. That's what I'm
right.
saying.
It's not awful, it's not offensive, it's just
I will say for an episode called Bombad Jedi, titling something Bombad Jedi, you're walking in knowing that you're going to have a Gungan, which is most likely going to be Jar Jar, that is going to somehow be masquerading or mistaken as a Jedi. And
look,
your expectations probably should be pretty low walking into that. And based on that premise, it's not a bad episode for that being the central idea. I will say that.
It's bad in the sense though that like or let me speak for myself here. I already kind of went in like going like, oh fuck, right?
This is gonna be terrible.
Yeah,
blah, blah,
and
blah,
for
blah,
it,
blah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing in terms of like me coming out of it and going, well, it wasn't like awful, but it still wasn't good. Like.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a best case scenario here where they could have made the small attempt to redeem Jar Jar, I guess, Like, I'm not against the idea of, like, character redemptions, even with somebody as annoying as Jar Jar from Phantom Menace.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But they did kind of get, like, stuck in with the character that George Lucas delivered in said movie.
Mm-hmm.
But by like Attack of the Clones, he's essentially on the Senate floor, not breaking everything in fucking sight.
Yeah, he's not being that bumbling jester in the background, like you see in
he's
the
not
Phantom
breaking
Menace
droids.
where Qui-Gon's like, don't touch anything, and the next thing you see, he's like juggling shit in the background, like running around, and getting kicked in the nuts by a fucking droid,
or like he's literally trying to eat like whatever fucking alien jerky is hanging off of the fucking stick thing,
Yeah, it was like a fish.
Yeah,
that cost $7. Whoopie,
some roasted,
whoopie,
some
whoopie.
roasted fish is just hanging there. So like there's some progression between Phantom and Clone War, Attack of the Clones.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's again, I would have liked to have seen the attempt to put some meat on that character,
So in this episode, I think if we would have either cut out the destruction of the ship, or we cut out like the underwater shit, like cut out one or the other, use that time to more properly narrate this, either the turn of Ono or the reveal of Ono being a double agent, or the decision of Padme to like stick up for him at all cost, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And make the decision for Jar Jar to be Bombad Jedi an active decision.
Yeah.
And this gets a thumbs up for me.
I agree, like, because we're dealing between Attack of the Clones, where we see him giving Palpatine executive powers, and then Revenge of the Sith, where all we get is one shot of him and Boss Nass at the funeral of Padme, Spoilers. So leading up to Revenge of the Sith, it's so open because he doesn't get a fucking line. He's just sad at a funeral. So like, we don't know anything about him. He could have been a badass the entire time, and that would have been fucking awesome, know? Because really, once we get into Attack of the Clones, like, at most when it comes to bumbling, we get like his 270-degree turn, and then like an ear flops back in his face when Anakin and Padme like walk into her quarters, like.
Yeah, he's like Derek Zoolander and like can't turn right, so he has
Yeah.
to make like a 3/4 turn left.
Yeah,
Or-
exactly.
I think it's actually the other way around. I don't
Yeah.
think Derek can turn left.
Derek always turns right. Yeah, he always
Right.
has to turn right down the catwalk.
Yep.
So I think it was. Anyways, somebody researched Zoolander for us.
I think at the end of Zoolander, of the first Zoolander, like he turns left and he's like
He jumps out,
he
turns left,
turned
and then
left,
yeah,
and does the blue steel.
Magnum. Yeah. So there's enough progression there that they could have, if they had just worked with that and been like, hey, there is a war that is happening, and even Jar Jar is stepping up to the fucking plate.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they don't. They take the super lazy route, keep him the weird bumbling Mr. Magoo idiot,
Right.
and make no attempt to have any reason for his importance in any of these stories,
Yeah.
or in the universe at large, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like a modern character that is clumsy yet successful.
Yeah, because I mean, the character got bastardized as it went on, because there's this thing called it's been termed Flandersization, right?
Okay.
So we're gonna get into more storytelling theory here, and it happens in television, where you have Ned Flanders on The Simpsons, who is their neighbor.
I was going to say this has to be named after Ned.
Oh yeah.
Gotcha.
So it's named after Ned, and in the first handful of seasons, he's a very well-rounded character who has a lot of facets of personality to him. But the main thing that everybody got attached to is the fact that he's the weird neighbor that's super religious, right?
Right.
So first handful of seasons, he's a loving father, he's a loving husband. He accepts the world that he's in, and it has no bearing on his faith. And his faith helps him in other ways, such as opening the Leftorium, all that stuff, right? It's his compassion, his positive outlook on life. 25 years on, the character is just a simple religious man who only causes issues for Homer because he's an uptight religious person, right? The only other character that really gets this really badly is Captain Jack Sparrow.
I gave up after the second one.
Okay, you gave up at a decent time. So in the first movie, the thing that everybody fucking misses in the first movie is that he is Captain Jack Sparrow.
Mm-hmm.
Not just Jack Sparrow, Captain Jack Sparrow.
Captain Jack.
Right. So you pay attention in that first movie. The dude is smart. He knows how to navigate. He knows how to captain a fucking ship. He knows how to command a whole crew.
Mm-hmm.
He knows how to fight. He holds his own against fucking Will Turner,
Mm-hmm.
Then by movies 2, 3, and especially 4, and especially 5, they forgot about how smart he is and just turned him into the drunk idiot.
Right.
It's really fucking annoying because there's a reason Johnny Depp was nominated for an Oscar for the first film, and there's a reason we all hate all the sequels. We being general public, generally
Right.
speaking, right? Sure, you have some like pirate super fans and such, but everybody really forgets that Jack was like self-sacrificing too. He took a piece of the fucking cursed treasure to fight and save everybody else.
Yep.
So that's as close as we have. Sorry, that was a very long analysis of current modern characters that could be bumbling idiots with redeemable traits of some sort.
So I'm going to pull this back around. Like, do you see Jar Jar as one of those characters or not?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
If anything, he's a character that already started at a low point, and then like through lack of usage, he's mildly redeemed in terms of like by the last movie he's silent, you know?
Right.
So really, like my main complaint, and it's hard. The whole point of the show is like we're reacting with some suggestion on like how we would do it, but really like the thing is when you're reviewing anything, you have to review what is given to you, you know. But we're in a much longer format here of a discussion. You have a blank slate towards the end of where this is going for this character. There's nothing with Padme, with Anakin, we know where they end up in Revenge of the Sith. At the beginning of Revenge of the Sith, we know what their personalities have to be like at the beginning of Revenge of the Sith when this show closes out, right?
Okay.
Jar Jar doesn't have that. They are open. Jar
Jar can do whatever he wants in this.
Yeah. Like, he just needs to look like that character at the end of Revenge of the Sith.
He essentially just needs to be alive. That's it.
He just needs to be alive. But, you know, they really could have made him like the smart tactician that does have bad luck now and then, you know? But they really just... It definitely feels like it was like a decision from not the writers to have to include Jar Jar. Cough, George Lucas probably.
It totally was George Lucas. Like Dave Filoni says, George Lucas came and said, I want to see Jar Jar in this series.
So what bothers me is that they should have just taken that as a challenge. A good challenge, but instead they just...
I will say...
threw him in. You know.
Sorry to cut you off, but I will say that this is the second time that we have seen Jar Jar, and as far as production goes, this is the first time that this show did anything with Jar Jar.
Yeah.
We do have 119 episodes to go, so I don't know how many more times Jar Jar is going to pop up in this series.
Yeah.
But I think that each time we do see him, we'll have to revisit him and see if he is stagnant or if he is moving in one direction or another.
If he progresses in any form. Yeah, that'd be a good thing to keep track of when he returns,
I am actually tracking all the episodes with Jar Jar in them, which right now is 2, because I found it interesting because the first one that he was in, we both gave it a thumbs up.
Yeah.
And it's kind of one of those things where you're like, oh, fucking Jar Jar's in an episode. This is going to be stupid. Like, obviously, it's going to be a thumbs down. And even this one, like, we were both thumbs down, but we weren't like, oh my god, like, solid thumbs down. Like, no way that my opinion would be changed. Like, you know, we're closer to the midpoint than the complete bottom.
Yeah, it's more of like a mild annoyance rather than an outright hatred. You know, so
yeah. And definitely for me, like, this episode, my judgment of this episode had nothing to do with Jar Jar. So
yeah, the episode as a whole doesn't work whether Jar Jar's in it or not.
Which is weird because it's Bombad Jedi. It should be centered on his character, which it's not. So,
but it's not like we don't get anything out of him really. So I don't know. I got nothing else on that. So
yep, I think we've said all there is to say about Bombad Jedi. So
yeah, I think we can wrap this up. We're under 2 hours still. So
yep,
let's close it out. So
coming up
thanks
next
for
week,
listening. Oh god.
Sorry, coming up next week, we've got Cloak of Darkness, so we'll find out what that one's about. Thanks to Kevin Warren, our graphic artist. You can find him on Twitter at They Call Me K-Dub. Thank you to Lindsay over at Strange Fantasy Music. Use her Gmail account to contact her if you want to. If you want to get a hold of us, we've got a few different options. We got Twitter at Not the Nerds, Facebook at Not the Nerds Podcast, Instagram at Not the Nerds, which is ours but not necessarily active. And if it's
and
not up yet, coming soon, notthenerds.com.
Yes.
So that is in the works, and I talked to Anthony, our web designer, recently, so we've got to get him a little bit of info. He's been working on it, and he's going to get that page up and running for us. So it's just kind of an issue of when this will come out, which is June 6th, and whether or not the website will be up and running by then. So, but, when it is, it is. So
just pay attention to Twitter and Facebook. We'll make that announcement when it does come up, if
absolutely
not already before June 6th. So, thanks for listening. Please rate us wherever you're listening to this, on iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn. So thanks for listening. Thanks for joining me here, Kevin.
Yeah, thanks, Lorenzo.
All right, we'll see you next week.
See you next week, nerds.
We did it under 2 hours.
Woo-hoo!
Under 2 hours.
Yippee!
Oh, God.